Commission resumes. Mr. Shabangu, you're still under oath. Mr. Nzuki-Tombi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am moving ahead with the hope that Mr. Mpofu will take up the cudgels. Minister, could I refer you to quadruple 2.3? That is your speech given on the 18th of April 2012 at the Lonmin Artisan College.
Passage in the speech do you want to?
It is a passage in the third page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth paragraph from the top.
How does the paragraph begin?
It starts with this province, but I'm just waiting for the, yes. So it is the fourth page, fifth paragraph. The page before that. Sorry, the third page rather. Yes,
oh, yes.
And the sentence that starts with. Yes, Minister, this is your speech. I have no doubt you recognize it. Correct?
I see that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Now, I just want to read you to consider the passage which starts with this province also experienced several high-profile industrial actions which were protracted and of real concern. Solutions require sober minds and practical approaches. We all need cool heads and steady hands. In some cases, the genesis of these protests lay in the failure to implement commitments and undertakings in social and labor plans, and the absence of healthy and sustainable relations between mines and host communities. Now, I just want to put emphasis on the words, in some cases, the genesis of these protests lay in the failure to implement commitments and undertakings in social and labor plans. Can you say those lines?
Yes.
Now, this is the view you held in April 2012, that in some instances, the industrial action is caused by the failure to implement commitments in the SLPs, correct?
It's not correct, Mr. Chairman. It's not correct because here, at this particular point in time, we were facing challenges of communities around Marikana,
yes,
around Rustenburg, not labor disputes. It was more of communities around the area which were protesting.
Yes.
So
When you say industrial action is labor action.
Surely between protest and labor action. Labor action very often takes the form of a strike, sometimes protected, sometimes unprotected.
Yeah.
Now, what you say here is this province also experienced several high-profile industrial actions. Now, that must refer to strikes,
yes, Mr. Chairman,
which were protracted and of real concern. Solutions require sober minds and practical approaches. We all need cool heads and steady hands. In some cases, the genesis of these protests, but you're still talking in the context, surely, about these industrial actions.
Correct, Mr.
Lay
Chairman.
in failure to implement commitments and undertakings in social and labor plans. And then you go on to deal with something else as well, namely, in the absence of healthy and sustainable relations between mines and host communities.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
So
And you go on to stress in the next sentence the importance of these communities. That's correct. Now, in the Rustenburg area, as I understand it, there are local communities who are basically Tswana-speaking people, and there is a fairly large number of migrant labourers who come from elsewhere, the so-called labour sending areas. And one of the biggest labour sending areas, according to the evidence we've heard, is Ponderland, which I think it'd be fair to say probably couldn't subsist properly without the ability to send its labour elsewhere and to receive remittances from those the migrant labourers who've gone off to work elsewhere. And they, of course, are also speaking people. Now, some of the industrial actions that you referred to, I take it, involved those people, the migrant labourers, the ones who weren't members of local Setswana-speaking communities, but were migrant labourers who came from the so-called labour sending areas. Is that correct?
Part of it is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Part's correct and what part's incorrect?
If you look at that area, already you had locals who were already working in the space.
I wasn't intending to say there weren't any locals working. I'm sure a significant number of local people were employed.
Yes.
But there were also a significant number of non-local people who were sent by the so-called labour sending areas. That's right, isn't it? Ponderland, for example.
Yes, which used to be the case.
Yes. Anyway, that's the background again, which you get, Mr. Tombi is going to carry on with his cross-examination.
Yes. Now, first I want to just dwell on this issue of the industrial action. What you are referring to here, industrial action, that's labor action. It is true that there is also community protests. Do you accept that, Minister?
It's true.
Yes. Now, you say that both the community protests and the industrial action, their genesis, in some instances, lies in the failure by mining companies to comply with their SLP obligations.
It is true.
Yes. Now, the next speech, which is quadruple Q4, you gave that speech at Sasol, presumably that's in Mpumalanga, on the 22nd of May 2012. And I want to refer you to pages 6 and 7 of that speech. All right, sorry, Minister. I'm going to hold back. So, are you at pages 6 and 7?
Khawulinde kaloku. Sajonga. I have it now.
Under the heading Transformation.
What page?
6.
Okay. 6, okay. Thank you.
Now, the last sentence there starts with areas such as low levels of implementation of employment equity by some mining companies and low level of women representation at senior management level, especially in decision-making structures, fronting especially by women who do it on behalf of men. During the implementation of SLPs, we have also detected an irregular practice by some companies that often change approved social and labor plans without appropriate consent from the department and without properly consulting communities. And then you say, I can only say that this constitutes a recipe for conflict and instability and must be avoided. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now, I take it from here that one of your concerns, which you say constitute a recipe for conflict and instability, is not just the failure to implement SLPs, but it is also the conduct of amending SLPs without consent by the department.
It's in my speech, Mr. Chairman. It's here.
Still hold that view.
I still hold it, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's what Mr.
Yes.
Look at Toby is saying.
Now, I know that in your two speeches you were talking about the industry in general, but presumably your speech is equally applied to Lonmin. Do you accept that?
It would apply to, Mr. Chairman, to all companies which at the point when we do the review would not have complied. At this point, we had an indication because we had just done a review of some of the companies, and there was a sense that there's a general trend of non-compliance.
Yes. Now, you became Minister of Minerals in 2009, correct?
Correct.
There was a review conducted in September of 2009, particularly in relation to the SLP compliance by Lonmin.
Mr. Chairman, it was not only SLPs, it was everything in the mining charter.
Yes, including SLPs.
Yes, it's one of the aspects.
Yes. Now, in relation to Lonmin, one of the undertakings made in 2006 was that they would build 5,500 houses. Do you know anything about that commitment?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So you are not aware that Lonmin undertook in 2006 to build 5,500 houses for their workers?
I was not in mineral and energy then, Mr. Chairman.
But when you became minister in 2009, did you not take it upon yourself to familiarize yourself with the facts?
The first point of familiarizing myself was the review of the charter, which was done by the previous minister. That's the first point of call for me.
And you never familiarized yourself with whether or not Lonmin had complied with its SLP obligations?
Well, it's not only Lonmin. I had to do all other companies. I could not specifically pick on Lonmin alone when you had all the mining companies in terms of the initial report who were not compliant.
Now, I have gone through the reports. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. 2009, 2010, and 2011 reports that come from your department.
You haven't got much time left. Your time is up, actually. But it sounds to me as if you are now going over into the area covered by the former term of reference 1.5, which is now being deleted by the President.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm only focusing on the non-compliance by Lonmin.
Well, the witness apparently said she doesn't know about it. Because
yes,
she says when she took over, there were a number of these companies that hadn't complied, and she didn't give her attention to specific instances. Am I right? That's what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, you're correct.
Now,
so
there's one issue, Mr. Chairman, that is vital on this point, and it's relevant to Lonmin's non-compliance, because the Minister says in her speech of the 22nd of May, she complains about the practice of amending SLPs without consent by the department. Now, that's the point I want to pursue.
Still holds that view.
Yes.
And then she goes on to say this is a recipe for conflict and instability. Is that correct? No.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Now, Mr. Minister, in 2010, Lonmin amended its SLP so as to remove the requirement to build 5,500 houses.
Did you know that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of that.
So
not aware.
That's the end of the matter, surely, Mr. Mokitobi. As far as this witness is concerned, it may not be the end of the matter as far as the Commission is concerned. That will depend on other factors.
Yes. Well, yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave that point.
Time is up, Mr. Tombi. Sorry, I always get it wrong. It's Toby. I've got it right now. I'm sorry for the previous errors.
Yes.
Your time is up. If you have matters that you want to deal with, and you did lose a bit of time in dealing with other issues where I stopped you, you apply for an extension and tell me exactly how long you want, and if you have a specific point that you want to deal with that's relevant, that's important, then I'll consider it.
Yes, I need 5 more minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Can you tell me what the point is without showing your hand unduly to the witness?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the first area is to cover the 2011 and 2012 SLP period.
Haven't we already disposed of that already?
There is one issue, Mr. Chairman. The amendments to SLPs must be done through the Minister.
Yeah, we know that.
Yes. So the only issue that I want to put is whether this application was ever put before the attention of the Minister.
I understood it to say she knows nothing about it. Am I correct?
No, that was in 2010,
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Do you know nothing about 2011 and 2012 as well?
Mr. Chairman, let me explain the process. The process of amendment is an administrative process which I don't deal with. It's done by the DG. It's a delegated power to the DG. Hence, I would not be able to deal with specifics. I deal with the broader issues, not specifics.
Thank you. That's the end of the matter, Mr.
I won't pursue that further. I won't pursue that point any further. Can I just ask my attorney if she's got any other questions?
Of course.
Those are the questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next is the injured and arrested persons. 60 minutes.
Chairperson, there's a rearrangement of the text.
Mr. Chair, with your leave, Mr. Mpofu and I have agreed that I'll go next.
You asked me to ratify that agreement. I'm prepared to do so. You're appearing for the families. 30 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.
Part of that agreement, Chairperson, is that if any time remains, it will be transferred.
We'll deal with such problem if it arises. Any decision that advance.
Good afternoon, Minister
Sorry,
Shabangu.
before Lewis starts, I take it Mr. Nsuza is available if necessary to continue with his evidence today if we reach that stage. He is in the chamber, is he?
Well, he's in the chamber, Chairperson, but I'll have to talk to him because my arrangement with him was that
Well, you can talk to him during the lunch hour.
something we needed to cover, which assuming, well, I won't be able to cover it with him later if he's under cross-examination, but we can deal with that problem
You can perhaps deal with lunch.
if it arises.
Anyway, Ms. Lewis, sorry.
Good afternoon, Minister. Minister, I appear on behalf of the families of the 3 strikers who were killed on the 13th of August 2012 and 33 of the 34 strikers who were killed on the 16th of August 2012. Minister, a large number of the issues that I was going to deal with have been dealt with by my learned friend, Ms. Pillay, and I won't repeat them. There's really one issue that I want to address with you. But just by way of context, Ms. Pillay has dealt with you in detail about the manner in which you characterized the situation at Lonmin, and I'm not going to repeat that or to ask you to repeat your characterization of that. Do you understand that?
I hear.
And Minister, the second issue that another issue that Ms. Pillay dealt with, by way of context for the issue that I'm going to deal with, was Mr. Ramaphosa's email on the 15th of August 2012 that he sent at 2:58 p.m. to Mr. Jamison. And I'm wondering if we could just have that up on the screen. It's exhibit BBB 4.6, I think. Now, what Ms. Pillay put to you is that what Mr. Ramaphosa is conveying in this email to Mr. Jamison is that he, in essence, got you to change your characterization of what was happening at Lonmin, and Ms. Pillay relied on the word correct. You remember that, Minister?
Yeah.
And Minister, I won't get you to respond again because you have given your answer to Ms. Pillay. But what I also want to bring to your attention is Mr. Ramaphosa's evidence under oath before this commission. And can I have day 271, page 34593, line 17? Can I have that up on the screen, please? That's 34593. Line 17. You'll see that this is a question from the chairperson, and the chairperson says to Mr. Ramaphosa, did you in fact persuade her in any event to abandon the characterization that it was just a wage dispute and to take a different view of the matter? And Mr. Ramaphosa says yes. And the chairperson continues, as it were, withdraw her, correct her previous public statement. Mr. Ramaphosa again says yes. The chairperson carries on that it was just a wage dispute. Management and the workers must get together and sort the thing out. And Mr. Ramaphosa says, indeed. So you see, Minister, aside from what we will argue the wording of the particular email clearly conveys, Mr. Ramaphosa also testified under oath before this commission that he in fact got you to change or abandon your characterization of what was happening at Lonmin. And I just wanted to put that to you for you to comment on.
Mr. Chairman, I must say it is not true. He never influenced me. He never persuaded me. And that cannot happen in about 4 or 5 minutes to be persuaded. And I want to say, put it to you, through you, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Ramaphosa never convinced me. I had already made up my mind what I need to do. Hence, my key was about the briefing the President and the Minister of Police.
Are you telling us that even if you hadn't spoken to Mr. Ramaphosa, even if he hadn't contacted you, you still intended on that Wednesday to mention the matter to the President and to raise it with the Minister of Police?
That's true, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Those are our questions.
Thank you. Now we have the injured and arrested persons. You did have half an hour, so I think it would be appropriate to give. How much did she use, Mr. Whitley?
Chair, that was 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh. So there's 25 minutes, which I award to Mr.
Yes, thank you.
Because I know he's straining the police to get more time. I'm not going to give you any more than that.
Well,
Obviously, the time you've got, which is 60 minutes, I'm giving you an extra 25.
Mr. Half an hour. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Minister.
Afternoon, Mr. Mpofu.
Good afternoon, yes. No, we've been here for too long. Right. I am going to ask you, because there's not sufficient time, I'm going to cover two or so broad themes. One deals with the issue of transformation of the industry, which was one of the key aspects of your job, correct?
Indeed, it's true.
Yes. And the second broad aspect will deal with the issue of corruption, which I'm sure you'd agree is something that is undesirable among people like you who are public officials, correct?
I'm not sure what, Mr. Chairman.
You're not sure if it's desirable or undesirable?
I don't understand the question, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman.
Do you know that corruption is undesirable?
I don't understand the question, Mr. Chairman.
Do you know what corruption is?
Yes, I know.
Yes. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Mr. Chairman, corruption is a bad thing in general.
Thank you. Okay. So those are the areas. Now, I take it that you also know that it's a criminal offense not to tell the truth when you are under oath, correct?
That's true.
And in fact, you are bound not just by the oath that you took this morning, but you are also bound by another oath which you took when you were sworn in as a minister, correct?
That's a given.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to read out that oath which you took. I, Susan Shabangu, so solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counselor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted upon me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. You took that oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, let's then start with the broad theme of transformation. You'd agree that obviously, if you are going to transform something from one state to another, you must first understand the problem of what it is that you are about to transform. Correct?
Yes.
And in respect of the sector that was entrusted upon you, surely you know that the mining sector is at the center of the South African economy and was, by extension, also at the center of not only the apartheid system, but the other systems that preceded it since the discovery of minerals, correct?
Yes.
And also that, in essence, the migrant labor system is at the core of what is rotten about the mining sector, correct?
I don't know that it's rotten, but I know that it's a system used before and currently.
Okay, you know that it is the mining sector is in bad shape. Let's put it that way.
I can't say it's in bad shape. It has challenges.
You don't think it's in bad shape? You don't think that the 100 years of migrant labor, you know, forced searches, beatings, and all that goes with the mining sector historically made it into bad shape or brought it into bad shape?
In the past.
And say in the past 20 years, do you think that bad shape has been sufficiently transformed?
Transformation, it's a process, it's not an event.
Yes. And insofar as it is a process, would you say that we as a country at this stage have succeeded in transforming, or have we failed so far?
We can't succeed a legacy of 100 years over a century in 20 years. It's
exactly.
A process.
So it's still in bad shape?
Well, it is in the process of transforming.
Yeah, but it's still in bad shape.
I'm not sure about bad shape, Mr. Chairman.
Well, okay, let's just take that one aspect. The migrant labor system, which, well, let me put it this way. If you can just put up XX7. Okay, page 2. This, Minister, is an article by Gavin Hartford, I think.
Did you give notice to the witness beforehand?
Yes, I did, of course.
Have you had a chance to read this article beforehand?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have it.
Yeah, you can read the one on the screen. It's the part that I want to read is on page 2.
I was trying to find out from the witness if she's had a chance to read the article. And it's not the practice in the Commission just to say to a witness, say it doesn't matter if the witness has seen it before, witness can read it on the screen. Have you had a chance to read the article?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Was it sent electronic, details were sent electronically? Mr. Bartels?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we received a very large number of documents, but of course, receiving something and reading and understanding it is a different matter, Mr. Speaker.
Let's see what passage Mr. Mpofu wants to concentrate on. And if the Minister has a problem, she can tell us, and she may well be able, or she is after all the Minister of Mineral Resources, she may well be able to deal with the problem without any further problem, further difficulty. Yes, what's the passage you particularly want to refer to?
Thank you, Chairperson. It's on page 2, as I said, yeah. And if there's a further difficulty, the Minister can always come back. She can read it.
What's the passage you want to rely on?
Page 2.
Yes, I know page 2. The whole page.
On the second, yeah, the second paragraph.
It is a well-known historical truism.
Yeah.
That passage.
Can I read it now? Thank you. Okay. The passage says, Minister, it's not very controversial. It is a well-known historical truism that migrant labor was not only the core foundation and economic imperative of South Africa's mining industry, but also the labor market infrastructure from which the entire Bantustan system and the apartheid order were built post-1948. Sure you'd agree with that?
I don't know. I can't agree, I don't know.
Which part don't you know? You don't know whether it was the core imperative and whether the apartheid system was founded upon it. Which don't you know?
I don't know.
Don't know what?
What you are saying there. What you are reading right now, say I don't know, Mr. Chairman.
What does that mean?
It means I don't know. Why should I agree to something which I don't understand?
Oh,
and
you don't understand.
You're reading a passage which, for me, doesn't even make logic. I don't know what leads to this.
Are you wanting to answer my questions, or do you want to be obstructionist?
No, I don't think that's an appropriate comment, Mr. Mpofu.
Well, it must be.
You asked her if she agrees with the comment, with the passage. She says she doesn't understand it. So how can you ask her whether she agrees with it? I think that's a perfectly appropriate answer. I suggest you move on to the next point.
No, that's not what she said, Chairperson. She said she doesn't know. Let's not...
Explained by saying the passage that I repeated. that I don't
Okay.
if I don't understand something, I can't be expected
All right.
to say that I agree.
Which is why I said, which part don't you understand, Minister?
You have just read a passage, and I'm referring to what you have just read and put it and decided to say, I know it. I don't know.
No. I thought the chairperson was trying to rescue you there. You say you don't know or you don't understand.
Well, Prof, that's not an appropriate comment either. I'm trying to be fair. Throughout this commission, I've leant over backwards to try to be fair to all the witnesses. This witness is no exception.
Minister, I don't want to waste more time on this. Do you not understand when someone says that the migrant labor was only a core foundation and economic imperative of the South African mining industry? Do you understand that part?
I don't understand, Mr. Chairman.
You don't understand that didn't you just agree when I started with you that migrant labor was at the core of the mining industry as one of the things that needed to be transformed?
I said they're in the process of transformation. I've never said they need to transform. They are busy with transformation.
Minister, I'm going to suggest that you are evading my question. Do you have any comment to that?
Just ask the question. If you want to argue later she's evading, you can do so at the end. But let's carry on with the questions and the answers.
Which part don't you understand when I say migrant labor was not only the core foundation and economic imperative of the South African mining industry? As a former minister of minerals, how can you not understand that?
I don't understand it.
All right. The next one is, it says, still in that paragraph towards the end, in South Africa's mining industry, true to global migrancy patterns for resource extraction, colonial history delivered a double blow by statutorily entrenching the edifice of apartheid to enforce the migrant labor system. Do you agree with that?
Mr. Chairman, this is it's part of the rest which I have not read, so I don't know what informs it.
Okay, forget the article now. Do you agree that the migrant labor system was statutorily entrenched in order to prop up the edifice of apartheid?
I agree.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you are effectively you are the regulator of the industry, correct?
Indeed, it's true.
And to do that, you were guided by the act called MPRDA, correct?
Yes.
And that act says that in its preamble, one of the things is reaffirming the state's commitment to reform and bring about equitable access to South Africa's mineral and petroleum resources, correct?
Correct.
And it also says it reaffirms the state's commitment to eradicate all forms of discriminatory practices in the mineral and petroleum industries, correct?
Yes.
And one of the imperatives of that act is the advancement of the lot of the historically disadvantaged persons, correct?
Yes.
And that would include people such as the workers at Lonmin, correct?
All workers in South Africa.
That includes, that's why I use the word include, that includes the workers at Lonmin, correct?
All workers in South Africa, yes.
Yes. All right. Now, you are aware that, or rather, from where you were positioned there were two aspects of the problem at Lonmin or in Marikana. One was what was described to you as union rivalry between AMCU and the NUM, and the other one was the labor dispute between the company and its employees, the wage dispute, correct?
Correct.
And from that, your evidence that you had not heard about AMCU before the 16th of August is not true. Would you agree?
Before the 16th,
Yes.
we had never engaged with AMCU.
No, I'm not talking about engaging. You did not
Well,
know.
it's a hearsay. It was a hearsay. I can't.
Question is actually a hearsay question, if I can call it that. What he says is, it's not correct to say that you hadn't heard about AMCU before the 16th of August. You may not have engaged with them. There may have been all sorts of other aspects relating to the remoteness, as it were, between you and the department on the one hand and AMCU on the other. But he's not concerned with that. He only asks you whether you'd heard about AMCU before the 16th of August, and he's suggesting to you that you didn't, that you had heard about AMCU before the 16th. Am I
That's
paraphrasing your
exactly it,
question correct?
Chairperson, yes.
So you understand the question as I've
Let me
summarized?
also explain, Mr. Chairman. We only heard about it, but we had never engaged with it.
Yes, no, I accept that you didn't engage about it. So any evidence that you might have given that you hadn't heard about it before the 16th would be false.
Well, the context of when the issue arises, we have not heard about it because we've never engaged it.
No, surely you understand the difference between hearing about something and engaging with it.
Well, that's
I
English.
haven't, you don't, well, I've heard about the United Nations, but I've never engaged with them. So, you know what I mean? So you know the difference, I'm sure.
Well, Mr. Chairman, our argument was more about having not engaged AMCU.
Yeah. So if somebody said you had not engaged with AMCU, that would be true.
Before the 16th, indeed, it's true.
Yes. And if they said you had not heard about it, that would be false.
Well, that's your own words. Don't put words into my mouth, please.
Okay, would it be true if you said you hadn't heard about AMCU? That's my last attempt.
Well, that's English, Mr. Mpofu.
Or you can say it in whatever language you choose. Being amanga.
Our understanding when that question was asked was about, have you engaged with AMCU, which you said we never engaged with AMCU. We've never heard of AMCU in terms of our tripartite arrangement.
You never heard of them in that context.
Yes, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
I see. Which tripartite arrangement are you talking about now?
Labor, business, government.
Oh, that one.
Indeed, I mean that one.
Okay.
You know, this is not a circus or a comedy show. It's not appropriate for people to sit at the back and laugh. If they want to go and laugh, I suggest you go outside and laugh to your heart's content. I find it disturbing, difficult to concentrate on the evidence when that sort of behaviour is indulged in. Please carry on, Mr. Mpofu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Right. Now, just the part that you have acknowledged, let's deal with that. You knew before the tragedy that AMCU was a role player. That goes without saying, that what Ms. Pillay dealt with you. You knew that, eh?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, let me further clarify the issue of knowing that people are a role player. You know, the first process is that we engage on a regular basis with stakeholders. And on the basis of that, the other issues that we engage with unions which are registered through the Department of Labor. And two, AMCU, we had never engaged at all. And therefore, in our space, one would assume that it never existed, even if you hear about it. One would have seen AMCU on the basis of a union which is entering the industry and recruiting members within the mining industry, which it's fine for them to do that. And I also want to say, Mr. Chairman, subsequent to the various meetings which took place after the incident of the 16th, the companies we're engaging with confirmed that AMCU was not a recognized union to us or for them. And hence the process of engaging with the unions, with AMCU in the verification of its membership was, they were busy with those processes. So it's within that context when we say AMCU was not part of the process.
Yeah, no, that's not the question I've asked you. Did you know that AMCU was part of the problem, or even that it was part of the solution?
That's a difficult question to answer. When
Okay, let's break it down. Did you know that AMCU was part of the problem in Marikana, of the situation in Marikana?
I've never, I don't know. I've never
You didn't
heard of
know?
that.
No, I'm not asking you about now. At the time.
I'm talking about the time. How can I say they're a problem when you're not engaging with them? And when we've never even analyzed what they are doing, then we start saying they're a problem. They're a problem because you would understand what is it that they're doing which leads you to saying that they are a problem.
And did you think, okay, let's say, did you think that they were part of the solution?
Well, if indeed they were there, and after we realized that it's important to engage with them, they had to be part of the solution.
No, I'm saying before you knew that, before the 16th.
Well, if their status was not defined to us,
They couldn't be part of the solution.
no a problem to us.
Okay. Then why, on the 14th of August, according to your statement in paragraph 4, paragraph 10, page 4, I'm going to suggest that your answer is untruthful because this is what you said in your statement. On the 14th of August 2012, I received a call from Vice President of the Chamber of Mines, Mr. Mike Teke. He informed me that he wanted to convene a meeting with both Mr. Frans Baleni, the General Secretary of NUM, and Mr. Joseph Matunjwa, the President of AMCU, to engage in mediation to find a solution to the situation in Marikana. Can you see that this shows that your previous answer was untruthful?
It was truthful. Mr. Chairman, can I elaborate on point 10?
Yeah.
So that we can, so that all of us can understand. Mr. Teke raises the issue to say he knows Matunjwa personally. He's been working with Matunjwa, and he believes that he can bring France and Mr. Matunjwa together in trying to find a solution. That's when the issue of AMCU and them coming together. Therefore, I'm trying to say, whilst we did not see them as a problem, but if the chamber Vice President brings to our attention to say a solution can be found by bringing the two parties through Mr. Matunjwa and Mr. Baleni, it will bring stability. I couldn't say no.
Thank you.
But for me, it was never, I've never characterized Mr. Matunjwa as a problem or a solution. But when it's saying that's the route which has to be taken, any form of help, any form of assistance or intervention was very critical at this point.
So I can understand that, but surely it's implicit in what you've told us in paragraph 10, that you were told on the 14th of August that the Chamber of Mines
Yes.
is of the view that AMCU are in a position to make a contribution to finding a solution to the situation in Marikana.
That is what I'm saying. I'm trying to elaborate on this particular statement in finding a solution. Because whoever, when there's a dispute or there's a challenge, who's prepared to contribute to finding a lasting solution, it's welcomed.
Yeah, because it doesn't go a little bit further than that. Doesn't it indicate that the Chamber of Mines, which after all is a fairly influential body, plays an important role in the mining industry, I would think?
Well,
the Chamber of Mines appears to take the view that it's important that AMCU should be involved in finding a solution to the situation in Marikana, and they were not only of that view, but the Chamber of Mines was actually taking action because the Vice President wanted to convene a meeting between these two gentlemen and these two gentlemen only, Mr. Beleni of NUM and Mr. Mthethwa of AMCU, so that a solution could be found. To the situation in Marikana. That's all clear, isn't it?
That's very much clear.
So that conveyed to you, I would imagine, unmistakably, that AMCU were indeed an important enough role player in this situation to be a possible source of contribution to solving the problems. That's fair too, isn't it?
That's very fair, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. And you fully supported this mediation, as you call it, between the two by the Chamber of Mines, correct?
Correct.
Well, but when we reach the convenient stage, we'll take the lunch turn. Just tell me when. I'm not
yes,
stopping you now.
Just round off this.
When it's convenient, tell me.
Thank you, Chairperson. In fact, on paragraph 15 of your statement, Mr. Sibiya also told you about their effort, correct?
It's true.
And you say that, and it was the same mediation effort that Mr. Teke had referred to, correct?
Indeed, it's true.
And you say that he confirmed that the mediation process to resolve the conflict in Marikana was being arranged and would be funded by the Chamber of Mines. I pledged my full support for such mediation process.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you didn't pledge your full support to a mediation process that involved two parties if one of them was not part of the solution, or at least part of the problem.
Well,
because there would be nothing to mediate.
Well, if parties are in conflict, whether you recognize them or you don't recognize them, if they should form part of the solution, you will recognize that.
Okay, also they did form part of the solution. And you are also saying that they were part of a conflict, which is a problem, so they were also part of the problem.
I've never said they were part of the problem.
You said they were part of a conflict.
If they are part of the conflict or they were involved in a conflict, they have to be brought on board to find a solution.
Yes, I agree with that. And a conflict is a problem.
That's English.
Oh, no, in any language. Is a conflict a problem or not?
I'm just saying it's English.
Well,
You're using the same words. It's English.
Does that mean?
Saying to you is that conflict by definition must be a problem.
No, that's not what she's saying.
Taking the case no further. She's saying that's what it amounts to in English, if I
well,
understand.
Maybe you can get her to say that. It would be better if she says what you say she says, which she's not saying. Is conflict a problem?
It's English, Mr. Mpofu, and that's not my mother tongue.
Will you answer my question in any language of your choice?
It's English. It's Ingisi.
Is conflict a problem?
Angiphetanga i-dictionary ukuchecka ukuthi it's a problem or not.
You don't have to be petulant.
No,
Well, you didn't even hear what she said.
I heard exactly what she said. I don't think it's being petulant.
Yeah.
She indicates that she has a linguistic difficulty with the words you used because English is not her first language. That's what
Which word, Chairperson?
That's what
Problem. Is that the word she doesn't understand?
Well, let's ask her.
Oh.
What exactly do you want to use the dictionary for? What word do you want to look up in the dictionary?
I'm just saying he uses the same word simultaneously, and it's English.
Right. I think this is possibly an appropriate note for us to take the lunch at German, and you can resume this discussion after lunch, right?
Yeah. Oh, didn't it, you mean to take a lunch before I get an answer?
Yes.
It wouldn't be better to get an answer and then we go to lunch?
Well, I fear we our lunch may be long delayed if we have to.
Yes,
so
no, I agree. It might take longer. The lunch might be shorter. Thank you,
We'll
Chairperson.
come back at 10 to 2.